All right, gang, we are going to be doing a tropical update here in just a couple of seconds. So bear with me while we gather a little bit of an audience here on this Sunday morning. We're going to be updating you on Fred and Grace. For those of you that are just now looking, I'll go ahead and point this out. There's another area up here around Bermuda. I don't think we're going to have to worry about this, but that might be something that ends up developing across parts of the west central Atlantic. But obviously, what we're concerned about is Fred and Grace. So we'll be back here in just about 60 seconds to start the update. Hello, Heidi. Good to see you this morning. Cheryl, Amy from Bell Chase. Debbie's checking in. So is Luis and Donna. Melanie. Hello, Julie. I just saw Dolly go by. Dolly, do you want to be on Facebook Live? Is Dolly available? No. Yeah, bring her over here for just a second. We're building our audience. And I figured, if she just makes a brief cameo, then, people might want to see Dolly just for 1 second before we get into the whole meat of this whole thing. Dolly's out sunning right now, so. Oh, she's not? Let's see. Yeah, Dana, we're going to talk about the Florida beaches for sure. And then there's Cherie from New Orleans, Joyce, and Harvey. All right, we're just about ready to start here. Oh, well, forget it. We don't know where our dog is. So everybody wanted to see Dolly just for 1 second. So look, the good news is also, guys, look at the bottom of the screen. I have a crawl running that kind of gives the quick nuts and bolts, especially as far as Fred is concerned. Oh, here. Okay, come here. Look who's here this morning. Dolly, you're on Facebook Live. What do you think? Huh? You want to stay here? Do the whole Facebook Live with me? She's looking over at other daddy and saying, no. Look, you're on the camera right there. Dolly, what's that? Dolly. Hi, everybody. Okay, now we have to get down to business. And Dolly's like, that's fine. I'm going to go away. Okay, so welcome, everybody. It is Sunday morning. Here is the status update. We have Tropical Storm Grace in the Eastern Caribbean Sea. We now have Tropical Storm Fred again in the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. If you were following my Facebook post yesterday, I said it was unlikely that we would see any impacts on the Louisiana, Mississippi Gulf Coast, that this would be an Alabama and Florida storm. And also, Zach Verdella really adeptly pointed out yesterday that it looked like Fred was going to form even farther to the east based on the thunderstorms that we were seeing across the area. So let's go right to the new 10 a.m. advisory. This just came in from the National Hurricane Center. This is brand new information. And the position is 300 miles or so south of Pensacola and generally moving toward Pensacola at 12 miles per hour. Winds are 40 miles per hour. So the good news is, I don't know if there's a lot of time for Fred to get a lot stronger. There may be some surprises at the last moment, but not for us here in southeast Louisiana. More likely than not, the surprises are going to be for the Florida Panhandle. So there's the track. And so by tomorrow morning, we're going to look for a landfall, likely in the Florida Panhandle, maybe as far west as Mobile Bay. But again, remember these weaker storms, they're weighted on the east side. And so that's where most of the impact is going to be. Really, all of the impact is going to be for the Florida Panhandle. The forecast is for a 50 mile per hour storm. So that's the good news with Fred. it looks like we are out of it. Here are the chances for tropical storm force winds. And notice we're not even in the game. Bay St. Louis 4, mouth of the river 6, Lake Pontchartrain, New Orleans 2%. Not insignificant at Mobile, but from Orange Beach to Pensacola, basically all the Florida beaches there. It's going to be a nasty day tomorrow, but it's going to be a tropical storm, unlikely to become a hurricane. But either way, it should be in and out pretty quickly during the day Monday, and hopefully is not going to linger very long for folks running between Pensacola and Panama City Beach. Here's what it looks like on the satellite picture this morning. Fred does look like it is getting more organized. Now there's the center. All right, so the center is located about right in there. Notice what's on the west side. Nothing. All right, so that's why all along we've been saying this is going to be an Alabama, Florida impact storm. And for a while, it looked like the west coast of Florida wasn't going to see much. But as we'll see on the radar in a minute, they're getting quite a bit of weather. There's where the center is right now. And that's where it was kind of moving around yesterday. That's the path it took. Well, that's where the center reformed right in that position. And there you can see it moving north and now maybe kind of northwest. And it's going to go something like that. So that's Fred. So we're in good news as far as Fred goes. Checking in here on our Facebook feed. We got Daryl checking in, Shalita, and there's Ann. Sally, I'm in Tampa and I need to fly home Monday. I think that's going to be okay. There could still be some feeder bands, some weather across the Tampa area, so that might delay some flights, but overall I'm optimistic you're going to be able to fly from Tampa to New Orleans. Guys, look at the clouds and the radar together here. The heaviest bands are offshore of Tampa and Fort Myers. So they're seeing some occasional showers blowing by the west coast of Florida, but the bulk of this continues to be offshore. So that's the good news as far as Fred goes. All right, that's Fred. Let's talk about Grace, because this is the one that we still need to keep an eye on. Now, like Fred, Grace is about in the exact same spot it was 4 or 5 days ago near Puerto Rico, and Grace is kind of a hot mess this morning. It's not terribly well organized. It's not showing signs of strengthening significantly, and so all of that is very good news. The center is located somewhere in here. It's farther to the south. Now that may be good news for us in the short term, because maybe that's going to mean a significant track over the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Now, of course, every time we say that, it's not like we're wishing anything bad on those countries. And God knows Haiti just lost hundreds of people yesterday in a major earthquake. But if we can get this moving over the Dominican Republic as a tropical wave or even a weak tropical storm, that's the best outcome for everybody. Certainly, we don't want to see a hurricane there. There's where the center is right now, just to the south of Puerto Rico by about 80 miles. It's generally been moving due west. There was a little jump here near the islands where the center reformed, but it's generally moving west or due north of west, and that trajectory would take it into the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So let's go ahead and look at the brand new advisory. Again, this just came in from the National Hurricane Center within the last 5 or 10 minutes. The position was 85 miles to the south of San Juan in Puerto Rico, moving to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. And when we look at the cone, obviously you're going to be able to see some concern. Now, there's the track over the islands, and so they keep this as a relatively weak storm, a 40, 50 mile per hour storm. But here's the concern for us in Louisiana and potentially Texas. By the time he gets out here in the open Gulf, conditions could be quite favorable for strengthening. And so the new update now includes the cone from the coast of southeast Louisiana into the central Gulf of Mexico and a 65 mile per hour storm by Friday morning. And that tells me that we could easily be dealing with a hurricane in the Gulf by late in the week, say Thursday into Friday, based on a forecast like that. Now, what should you take away from this particular forecast right now? Not much. It's 5 days out. A lot can change. We don't know what's going to happen after this point. We're going to take a look at some steering currents later on today. There's going to be a big high up here to the north, and like always, that's going to be the key as to how far west Grace is going to get. And so if the high stays strong, this is going to be a Texas problem, maybe even one from Mexico if it stays that far down to the south. But obviously with a forecast like this, that's just telling us here in southeast Louisiana that we need to watch developments this week until this really moves past the islands and we see how much it interacts with the Dominican Republic and Cuba. We're not going to be able to tell that much from that on what we can expect once it gets into the Gulf. What we can tell is the timing on this. So right now is the time to review hurricane plans. Peak of hurricane season is here, and have in the back of your mind thinking, we could have a hurricane problem by the end of the week and the weekend. That's basically all we can discern, at least from this particular cone that has just come out from the National Hurricane Center. These are the computer models on Grace, and this kind of tells you what the issue is. Now notice there's the track over the islands with most of the computer models, with one exception, as you can see, and I'll point that out in a minute. And then you get out here into the Gulf of Mexico and look, they're all over the place. We have one conceivably as far south here as the Yucatan Peninsula. This model, I would not put a lot of credence in right now with this jump to the north. We don't see any indication that's going to happen. Most of our consensus models are showing a track straight over Cuba, which would mean a weaker storm. But of course, then the problem is what happens when it gets here in the central Gulf of Mexico. And obviously, we could be dealing with a stronger storm at that point in time. So to summarize this morning, Fred is not a threat for southeast Louisiana. Grace is one that we're keeping an eye on, and that we need to think in the back of our mind that, yes, we could have a hurricane threat by the end of the week along the Louisiana coastline, but we've got several days to keep an eye on this and watch the progress of Grace. As always, remember to keep it here on fox8live.com, on Facebook, and on Fox 8 for the very latest on the tropics. Myself, Zach Friedel, and the Condor will be updating you throughout the rest of the day, along with the rest of the team. Shelby and Bruce will be kicking back in on Monday. You can always depend on us. I'm Chief Meteorologist David Bernard. This has been your Sunday morning Facebook Live update.